So do I have to, oh, okay. Lloyd, you ready? Lloyd, you ready?
Where's the new chief?
He is up there. He's up there. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday, September 5th, 2017 regular meeting of the City Council. The meeting will now come to order. Tonight, we'll have an invocation given by the Reverend Tracy C. Johnson from the Murph Chapel, St. Paul, AME Church, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilman Johnson. Please rise. Come up here.
Shall we bow our heads in prayer? Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank as well for the freedom to embrace you. Thank you for loving us even so from your boundless and gracious nature. In the scriptures you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and particularly for the assembled council. I'm asking that you will graciously grant them wisdom to govern and the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, a king for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives, and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of West Covina. And God, we pray for those who are dealing with the storms. Be with them even now. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Assistant City Clerk, could you please do the roll call?
Councilman Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember Toma?
Here.
Councilman Wu? Mayor Pro Tem Spence?
Here.
And Mayor Warshaw.
Okay, I'd like to let everyone in the public know that both Mayor Warshaw and Councilman Wu are both in China, which is why they're not here tonight, and which is why we'll probably end early. But anyway. Ms. City Attorney, are there any items to report out from closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. There is no reportable action this evening.
Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. There are a couple of items for changes. First is with regards to item number 14 on your agenda, which is regarding the side letter resolutions with the various miscellaneous, the various employment groups with regards to the changes as part of the budget, including the city yard changes, the reprographic changes, as well as an item on there for the POA with regard to donning and doffing. We have spoken to the POA leadership. They've asked us to pull that item off the agenda. We'll re-agendize it at a future meeting. In addition, item number 8, the police chief salary range. We've asked that that item be continued to the next council meeting at the request of a council member so that the full body can be here to present their vote and their comments on that item. That's all the changes on the agenda. I did wish to make a couple announcements, if that's okay, if it's appropriate this time before our presentations.
It is.
All right, so 2 is, with such a large crowd here, we thought we'd make a couple of introductions to a couple key people in our organization. So tonight I'm here to introduce 2 new department heads that are joining the city of West Covina. Actually, to some of you, these are not new faces, as both previously worked for the city of West Covina and have chosen to come back to work in our community. First, if I can call forward Edward Macias, our new Human Resources Director. Edward, where you at? He's coming. Edward started working as our new Human Resources Director a few weeks ago. He worked in our Human Resources Department before getting an opportunity to go to the city of Bell Gardens. We were fortunate enough, we were being able to steal him back. Now he runs our Human Resources Department. To share a little information to you about Edward, he began his local career in local government some 20 years ago in the city of Santa Fe Springs as a recreation leader. In addition to West Covina Bell Gardens, he also worked for Riverside County Department of Public Social Services, First 5 California, and the city of Lawndale. Over the course of his career, he has worked on numerous types of programs and for several different departments, including community services, public works, finance, human resources, and risk management. Edward has a bachelor's degree in public administration from Cal State Fullerton, as well as his master's in public administration with an emphasis in human resource management and public finance from Cal State Fullerton. Edward is a volunteer at the School of Adult Education for the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. He serves as a student mentor and advisory board chairperson for the school's career development and business technology program. And in 2013, the district presented him as one of their heroes honorees in recognition of exemplary leadership and support for the district's adult education program. So on behalf of the community, we just wanted to introduce and welcome back Edward Macias. Now, I could put Edward on the spot because I'm sure he's got a speech prepared too, right? Do you have any comments you'd like to share? This is probably going to be the smallest crowd you're going to have to deal with. Yeah, the microphone. We'll give you the microphone now. Now we'll really make you.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I do feel truly blessed to be back in the city of West Covina.
Put it in your mouth.
I do.
There you go.
I really feel like I've come back home, and so it's really an honor, privilege to be here, and I truly feel humbled to have the opportunity to come back and serve this community. Thank you.
See, the rookies and the new guys really need to learn the operations around here.
It's easy.
Yeah. And the other introduction we want to make is because everyone in the world seems to know about it, but yet it hasn't been formalized yet because the candidate still has to complete the pre-employment process, which we've been assured by the candidate that that's not going to be a problem. And so we're anticipating that our next police chief that I'd like to introduce you to is Mark Taylor. Yeah. So, you know, I didn't have anything to say about you. Now, what's that? Other people do, I'm sure. And what I do caution, again, we do have a process we're still completing. The tentative start date that's been selected is October 9th, as well as a ceremony on October 16th. So we'll be putting together some plans and putting out the information regarding that. I did want to talk a little bit about Mark Taylor, like I shared with you some folks, the information about Edward Macias, in the sense that Mark is actually unretiring in order to come and join the city of West Covina once again. Mark spent 31 years with West Covina Police Department before his retirement, serving in a variety of capacities from patrol, serving as a field training officer, the SWAT team, narcotics, sex crimes, robbery, homicide, and much more. He was also designated as a federal officer and loaned to the U.S. Borders and Customs for 2 years to participate in major narcotic investigations. He retired at the rank of commander, which is similar to the same position we have as our captains today here in West Covina. Mark has a Master's of Science degree in Emergency Services Management from Cal State Long Beach. Go Beach. A Bachelor of Science degree in Occupational Studies, also from Go Beach. Is a graduate of Post Command College, the Sherman Block Supervisor Leadership Institute, and he's also served as the Assistant Chief for Public Safety for the University of Redlands for the 5 years that he's been in retirement. Well, I'm not even done yet. Yeah, I guess so. Mark was raised in Glendora, graduated from Charter Oak High School. He and his wife, I think everybody knows Betty. She's more popular than you, Mark. Are both longtime residents of West Covina. All their children have graduated West Covina High School. Mark and his family have been members of everything from West Covina Sunrise Rotary, where he served as past president. He and his wife also have done volunteer work with West Covina Pony Baseball, Covina Valley Assistance League, and through our local soccer, AYSO soccer program. So on behalf of the city, Mark, congratulations.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this short, but I'm going to go one by one and introduce everybody. So, no, just kidding. You know, it's a true honor to be here tonight, and I'm really here because of all of you. All of you have had an impact on my career, whether it's personal or professional, and I owe this opportunity to all of you. When I thought about applying for the position, I thought, you know, why would I want to come back? And when I started thinking about it, what brought me back is the same thing that brought me here in 1981. And to start with, it's the leadership of our elected officials, of our city manager, with strong support for the police department and public safety overall. That's very important. So I would like to, at this time, thank Mayor Pro Tem Mike Spence, Councilmember James Toma, and Councilmember Lloyd Johnson. I know two of our elected officials aren't here tonight, but I share in thanking them as well. And again, to Chris Freeland, just a great guy, somebody that I've had the opportunity to work with for years and years, and to be able to come back and serve directly for him is just a great experience. The second reason I thought about coming back was to once again serve a great city. And as a resident, it's our issues, not your issues, but I share in all the issues that everybody has. So I look forward to working very closely with all of the residents, all the businesses to solve any of the issues on a long-term scale. And then the third reason, to me, it's an absolute golden opportunity to come back and work with the finest men and women in law enforcement with the West Covina Police Department. It's not just the people that are here today, it's the people that have come and gone before us, and they've paved the way to this organization. We're leaders in law enforcement. We have been over the years, and I look forward to being part of that again. As Chris said, I just want to take a couple minutes to introduce my family. They're the ones that keep me grounded. They're the ones that really get me through every day. So to start with, I'd like to introduce my daughter, Bianca. You can stand up. It's okay. It's okay. A little shy, but. And my son, Adam. Both of them have a connection, like Chris said. They both graduated from West Covina High School. They're both seniors at the University of Redlands. Last year, Adam did a internship with the city of West Covina in Mr. Freeland's office, so he was very fortunate to do that. My daughter works at Coronado School. She's a instructional aide. I always say teacher, but it's not quite there yet, but that's her goal. And she works with special needs students, and to me that's really a great job. You know, she has the patience and ability to do that, and I really applaud her for it. So thank you very much. And then, come on down. Come on. Obviously, my wife Betty, somebody that. Somebody that I rely on more than anybody, and she's the one that actually made this decision the easiest. No, she didn't make the decision. She made it.
Clarify that, please.
She made it easy because when I asked her what she thought, she said, you know what, you need to do what makes you happy. And I could ask for no more than that kind of support and her love. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate, again, all of you being here. Again, you touched my life in a very special way, and I can't thank you enough. Definitely would not be here without you. So thank you again for the opportunity, and I look forward to serving again.
Don't everybody go running off quite yet. We're also got another presentation for our police department. So if you want to be a part of that, we'd love to have you sit in a couple more minutes. Just a little bit of peer pressure, sorry. So, Mr. Mayor, if you want to come, or Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if you wish to come forward to make those presentations.
Ms. Radford from the Roland Unified School District, come up, please.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure tonight to be honoring this outstanding teacher. And with us, we also have the superintendent for Roland Unified, Julie Mitchell, and board member Lynn Ebenkow, right? Okay. And I just want to give you a little bit of information about this wonderful woman here. Those of you who don't know, we do have a couple schools from Roland Unified in the city of West Covina. She works at Hollingworth Elementary. She teaches special needs classes for grades 1 through 3, correct? In the spring, Shella was named the district's Teacher of the Year. During a school assembly, she was surprised with this honor. She was recognized for consistently going above and beyond to serve the needs of her students and throughout the district. In addition to her daily teaching responsibilities, she provides homework assistance and tutoring for students before school, after school, and during your lunch break. Is that right? Shella is very well known for having high expectations for all students and supporting them to achieve their goals. And one of the really neat things that Superintendent Mitchell shared with me was a video that highlighted the day that they announced the award to her, and they interviewed some students and teachers, and of course the students are like, "We love Miss Shella, she's great, she's wonderful." And one of her colleagues said that the reason why the students at her school love her so much is because she really makes each one of them feel special, unique, and that they're cared for. And so I want to congratulate you, and on behalf of the city of West Covina, thank you so much for taking care of our students and going above and beyond. And I know it's a lot of time and energy, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
I just want to say what a great honor it has been to have this award and just to be able to share with others how I feel about how they've impacted my life, from the teachers to administration to my students. And you, the parents, you have been such a vital part of this teaching and being part of the students' lives. And I just really appreciate everyone who is here with a child and a student. And thank you so much for allowing me to teach your children and for my fellow teachers to teach your children, and know that they are very well taken care of. And it's been such a pleasure and honor to be part of the community of West Covina, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, those of you that know me know I spent 2 decades dealing with education at West Covina Unified, and both of my parents were teachers. And so I think all of us have a unique appreciation for teachers that make a difference in children's lives. And on behalf of the city of West Covina, I'd like to present you the certificate recognizing you as being Teacher of the Year from Rolling Unified.
Just very briefly, on behalf of Assemblymember Blanca Rubio, we want. Oh. So on behalf of Assemblymember Blanca Rubio, she's a former teacher as well, and so she couldn't go back to the classroom this year. So we appreciate the work that you do. So on behalf of the state, congratulations.
I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'd like to call forward Angie Shaw, the district representative from the office of Senator Josh Newman, and Gonzalo Ciano, field representative for Assemblyman Philip Chen, as well as our other state legislative representatives here. September 9th, 1850, California became a state. September 9th is observed annually to commemorate the anniversary of the 1850 admission day of California to the Union as the 31st state. On Admission Day, we observe the anniversary of California's statehood and celebrate the many valuable contributions Californians have made to the prosperity and culture of our nation. I'd like now to share this proclamation with the representatives of the assembly members here. And I'll just go to their resolve. We proclaim September 9th as Admission Day for California. I don't know who gets this. Who gets this? You guys get it. Here's Senator. You guys get it.
What year?
Thank you very much, Lloyd.
What year?
And now I'd like to call up Councilman Lloyd Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Mike Spence. You know, exactly 1 month ago today, Lance Corporal Ruben Valesco of the United States Marine Corps died. He was killed in an accident on a helicopter off the coast of Australia. Okay. In that time, the West Covina Police Department took the lead on honoring this Marine. And at that time, I would like to have Officer Eddie Flores please come forward. I would like to. Thank you. I'd like to say a couple words about Eddie, if I might. You know, Eddie Flores spent between 80 and 90 hours of his own personal time, no overtime or anything, to do this. And if it wasn't for him and a few of the other officers that helped him out, what West Covina was able to do for this young Marine would have never happened. So I would like for all of us at this time, please give him a big hand for what is undevoted time that he spent for this Marine. And as both of us being Marines, you know, we believe in you never leave a fellow Marine behind. And he didn't. So at this time, I'd like to present him with this certificate. And if I may, what it says, the City of West Covina, the City Council is pleased to recognize Officer Eddie Flores for your going above and beyond in honor of Lance Corporal Ruben Valesco, September the 5th, 2017. And this is for you. And please say a few words and announce everybody else that was here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm honored to receive this. I don't deserve this. I think everybody in the West Covina Police Department, anybody who served, anybody who has a family member who is serving, who has passed, who is current serving, or who is planning on joining, would have done the same thing. It was my honor as a Marine. It's my honor as a West Covina Police Department representative and a representative of the city of the West Covina. It's my honor to do something like that for one of our local heroes. He's our boy. He went to West Covina High School, lived in our city, and paid the ultimate price for me to be here, for all of us to be here, just to have our freedom to just be here present today. So I appreciate it. I'm honored, but in reality, I don't deserve it. I did what anybody in our department would have done. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're good? Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I would just like to add that there were many police officers that were involved in the Honor Guard, which the council had the opportunity to be part of, and they did that on their own time. They didn't get paid overtime. We had firefighters that were involved in it. I can tell you, it was interesting when you go to the airport, you know, all kinds of agencies had representatives there. The Border Patrol, TSA, they all had all kinds of representatives there to represent and to honor Lance Corporal Velasco. And Delta did a great job. You know, they came out, you could tell he was a veteran because they saluted when the coffin was lowered. And it really struck me as we were driving down, you know, the 105 freeway, fire engines from LA County were at every overpass, flashing their lights, saluting. And when we got off and at Rose Hills, and the people that showed up there, Marine Corps flags, United States flags, you know, what was interesting was no one cared about what someone's race was, what their class was. You know, there's people that want to divide us, but there, we were talking about American values, Marine values, and it was something that was very, very important that I think that needed to be pointed out, that this is something that united everybody, regardless of everyone's background. So it's something that I think West Covina should be very proud of.
Yes, just to announce the officers from West Covina Police Department that took their own time to represent on a Friday night, busy traffic, hot, but we were out there, was beginning with Chief Bell, thank you, sir, followed by Lieutenant Dennis Pan, Sergeant Gallardo, who's not here today, Sergeant Cortina, who's not here today, Officer Melnick, who's here with us today. We also had Officer Wakua, who's not here today, and we had Officer Diaz as well, who's not here today. But in addition to that, we also had Mr. Kennedy present and represent, and we had the three of them up here with me as well present. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Want to take a couple minutes ready?
Well, let me do the adjournment motions.
Okay, and then also call the chair, so I need to pull that item too.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, tonight, we'd also like to adjourn our city council meeting and honor Maria Delgadillo. Maria is mother of West Covina Fire Department employee Grace Chavera. Maria recently passed away, and we extend our sincere condolences to Grace and our entire family during this time. Is there any other adjournment motions? City Clerk, please note these adjournment motions at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Will do.
We'll go ahead and we'll take a 5-minute break so everybody else can get out that wants to get out. And then we'll start our public comment. I figured that out. I was guessing. Yes, they have. That is a If we could get the council members to come back, we can reconvene the meeting. If I can get Councilman Johnson and Councilmember Toma to come back, that'd be great. They can't hear me? Or they don't want to hear me? Can you go get them? Well, I was calling your names as best I could. Okay, if we can reconvene this meeting of the City Council, we'll now move forward with oral communications. Anyone wishing to speak is asked to complete a yellow speaker card, which are located at the main entrance of the council chambers, and to submit it to the Assistant City Clerk. When stepping up to the podium, please speak directly into the microphone to state your name and city of residence. You'll have 5 minutes to address the council. We decided to do something a little different to try to, based on the request of some people. And alternatively, if you would prefer to submit an agenda item position slip, this orange thing here, instead of speaking on a particular item, because sometimes we do run late, you may submit an orange agenda item position slip to the Assistant City Clerk. Your name and position on an agenda item will be read into the record, and you do not need to be present during public comment. Completing this slip does not forfeit your right to speak to the council at the meeting, but if you change your mind and wish to speak to the council about this item, all you have to do is complete a speaker's request. So this is something new that we're trying because there are people that have to leave sometimes and they want to give us their input. And again, we'll read it when we get to that item, you know, that so-and-so submitted this and they're opposed or they support a particular agenda item. So please abuse this. Then you get a chance. And those will be the orange ones. Tonight's first speaker is, where is it? I was trying to group them all. Ben Gibbons.
Thank you. My name is Ben. I live in Montclair. Just want to touch on a couple things. First, I'm retired from the Army after 24 years. I'm currently a residential aide for a chemical dependency residential program. I'm just about to finish my degree in chemical dependency counseling. The reason why I'm here, I'm volunteering for Run for Recovery. What the process generally happens is somebody will go through a detox program, then they'll go through a residential program, but afterward we have to assess if that person's in a safe environment or not, and many times people are not. So what Run for Recovery does is it pays for somebody to go from an unsafe environment to a safe environment. Unfortunately, some folks don't have the means to do that. So what Run for Recovery does is it pays for their housing while they're continuing on with their drug and alcohol treatment program. What they did last year is they helped 64 people, and they spent out $19,000. So what I'm supporting, or what I'm soliciting, is October 7th in West Covina, there's going to be a run/walk event. So what I'm looking for is individuals who are willing to donate, those folks that are willing to run and be a part of the actual program. I'm looking for vendors. We have 5 spots available, that are still available. And we're also doing silent auctions. We've had contributions from as small as a basket all the way up to a 1-week vacation. So anything that you could think of that would assist that, all the money goes directly back to those who need it. Okay? That's about it, unless you have any questions. I have flyers with me. I will stay here afterward. I've got pictures, I've got website, phone number, I've got all that stuff for you, so I'll stay until after the council meeting's over for anybody who needs it. Okay? Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Lisa Slaughter. And Barbara Gonzalez, you'll be right after that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Council members. My name is Lisa Slaughter. I'm an attorney, a land use attorney specifically, and I'm here speaking on item number 20, the reconsideration regarding whether or not the city of West Covina is going to regulate medical marijuana for cultivation or manufacturing. I'm here speaking because I have drafted a number of ordinances for a variety of cities and represented a number of cannabis clients, much to my surprise, given the new emergence of this particular industry. I've seen some of the best and some of the worst of the ordinances drafted by various cities, and you have quite the opportunity here. A number of surrounding cities, Montebello, Baldwin Park, Maywood, are currently regulating and taxing medical marijuana cultivation, particularly by square footage of actual space dedicated to cultivation. So if the plants die, the city still makes tax revenue. Looking at West Covina, there is a very limited amount of industrial buildings and industrial area here. You simply can't fit another Westfield Mall, who I worked for, who's a great citizen here in West Covina, and or another car dealership. You simply can't generate the amount of tax dollars that cities can absent regulation of this particular industry in cities that have a very limited industrial base. For example, a tax at $15 a square foot if you licensed only approximately 80,000 square feet of in a zone is over $1 million a year in revenue, where you don't have to add or tax on city services. Additionally, regulations that are well drafted, particularly with the area of limiting them to cultivation and to manufacturing and distribution rather than dispensaries, have found that the job creation is approximately 10 jobs to 20 jobs above living wage, above minimum wage with benefits, skilled workers in the agricultural industry per 10,000 square feet. So this is a tremendous opportunity to generate revenue here for this city, create jobs, and utilize industrial space that currently is very underutilized. The other thing I would like to say too is in drafting, big consideration is taken into safety, into experience with operators. There are a number of operators who've been operating in California now for a while who are looking for areas to cultivate and manufacture. And I'm happy to provide additional studies. This is not the first rodeo in regulating cannabis. We have studies from Washington, from Colorado, from Oregon, and other states. Even Arizona has started to come out with some additional studies, as has Nevada. So these are empirical studies done by law enforcement, done by city governments, and done by policy groups that show not only the job creation, but also the multiplier factor in terms of the impact to the community and taxes. So I hope that you really consider regulating it here and not letting this kind of revenue and this kind of job creation seep out into the surrounding cities who are currently regulating. Thank you.
Barbara Gonzalez, followed by David Valenzuela.
Hi, good evening, Councilman. I'm here for the marijuana cultivation. Talking here is my personal experience as a patient. In 2013, I was diagnosed with ovarian and uterine cancer. Stage 1 on ovary, stage 2 in uterine. I started chemotherapy after 3 months. My tumors were shrinking, but in my uterus it started to grow. So they realized that they had another type of cancer. So chemo wasn't working, so they changed it. It was getting better, but after another 3 months, I was getting worse. So I decided I was going to do anything. I was just going to let it take its course. And then a couple months ago, a friend of mine who happened to be a cultivator gave me tea, which was marijuana tea. And I started taking it on a regular basis, twice a day. And then I started hemorrhaging. When I went in, I said that the tumors were extracting. I started going to surgery to have a full hysterectomy, but because my heart's so weak, I flatlined 3 times. So I was electrically shot brought back to life. So I couldn't go into surgery to have it removed. So with the marijuana, drinking as a tea helped me start expel the tumors and cysts. I have fibrosis cysts, malignancy tumors, and benign tumors. And I started extracting them in March. I started taking the tea in February, and I started extracting again, expelling them in May and in last July. And I'm noticing that this has been very beneficial to me, and how it's helped me where I can't go surgery, I can't go in to remove it. I have to continue losing weight. It has helped me lose weight. I don't get high with it. I don't feel anything with it, but it's helped me to move forward. I have a foster son who was given to me when his mom passed away. I've known him for 10 years, was schizophrenic and bipolar, and this, with my illness, wasn't allowing me to take care of him like I needed to. And since then, I've been able to be more functional with him and give him the care that he needed, being schizophrenic and bipolar and with a bone infection, osteomyelitis. And I think bringing the marijuana into the city will help a lot for patients like myself. And I would like to see that happen here. Thank you.
David Valenzuela, followed by Jim Gribich.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Pro Tem, Councilman. My name is David Valenzuela. I reside in Oxnard, California, but I feel that it was so important. I also am a veteran. From 1979 to 84, we had hostages in Iran, so I was regular Army. And during that time, I hurt my back, and I had chronic back pain for years and years. And for a lot of years, we couldn't get help as veterans. You know, we always try to make a doctor's appointment or seek help, and you know, it was always just too hard. Not until just recently now we're starting to take care of our veterans better. I do have a lot of veteran friends that are medical marijuana users. I've been a cannabis user for 37 years now, and it just helped me tremendously be able to function. My quality of life is a lot better now. The majority of the time, my legs are numb, the back of my legs just about all day. Medical use of marijuana helps me on the inflammation side and allows me to function and be able to keep a job and work here in the society and just not be a deadbeat. So I support it. I support the amendment. It's very important to a lot of us veterans that just need a little bit of help on the side, really don't need to see a doctor or you know, a lot of people don't like to go through that whole rigmarole and go up, you know, 4th floor all the way down to the 1st floor by the end of the day. And I know a lot of people that do use it and it does help them, you know, and I'm one case, and I've been doing this for 37 years, and I do use the facilities here in your city, and I come from Oxnard. So I support the measure. I came from Oxnard because that's how I feel how important it is to speak on this issue for the veterans. There's a lot of veterans out there that are using medical marijuana, and we were adults when we made the decision to join the service, and I think we're adults enough for everybody to, if they want to use it, they're able to use it and for right frame of mind. So we support the amendment. Please don't take away from the veterans that we have going now. Things are getting better for us, and we are getting help. But, you know, anything that can help us in recovery and any medical use would be greatly appreciated, and it's very important for me. Again, you know, I've been 37 years using it, and, you know, you're a professional, you stay home and you medicate and you take care of yourself and you go back and you work in society, you make a living and make a good living, try to do that. You do so. I support the amendment to keep it going, and I appreciate your time, and, you know, let's not take away from the veterans. Let's just keep on adding to benefit to get them well and take care of our guys. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Followed by Javier Montez.
Jim Grovich, longtime resident, city of West Covina. I would like to point out that many of the speakers don't seem to be residents of the city of West Covina on item number 20. I'd like to thank Councilman Johnson for asking for reconsideration of this particular item. I'm not going to repeat what I've been saying in earlier presentations on this particular subject. I presume you remember those things. But I do want to emphasize one part because of the previous speaker. This isn't about medical marijuana. This is about the commercial sale of marijuana in the city. I do want to point out one fact that I didn't previously mention in my previous presentations, is that both the states of Washington and the state of Colorado, who have already implemented the program we're talking about here, had very similar results in terms of governmental revenue. They had projected significant revenue increases involving taxing marijuana, and they were both extremely disappointed. And when the results finally came in terms that the revenue was much less than projected, and the reason why is because the folks that were already in what's referred to as the black market for marijuana, that is the part that isn't subject to governmental taxation, continued in business just like they had always done because they didn't want to pay a lot of taxes. I presume you heard the numbers that the previous lady mentioned. If you're in business, you don't want to pay a huge percentage of your revenue to taxes. So if you have a choice, you continue in the black market. And that's exactly what did happen in Washington and Colorado. I do want to caution any expectation that there will be a lot of money in this. That's it. I know there's not 5 people here tonight, so I'm not sure we'll have action tonight, but we will will appreciate eventually resolving this. As you know, my recommendation will be to continue the ordinance as is with no changes.
Okay, Javier, followed by Steve Grisham. Sorry.
Good evening, Honorable Council. My name is Javier Montez. I am a stakeholder in the cannabis industry. I have been in the industry for over 10 years. I have seen cities who have no regulation basically hear the residents talk of the stigma of an illegal market. In 2018, when the state starts to regulate this industry, we will see a seed-to-sell program that will not allow diversion in any city that introduces a program. At the same time, when cities are looking into this, the best approach is cultivation, as it does not allow the public to enter or come out. There are no sales in the city. They are cultivated and tracked seed to sell. So I hear the concerns when we go to cities, and it's usually the stigma of illegal proliferation, of diversion. But in 2018, when state law takes effect, I don't think that there will be too much of that. We are all monitored. There are high standards for security. 24-hour monitoring services are mandated by the state. So in order to even have a state license, you have to meet these requirements. I think that these protocols will allow safe access, a safe industry, and any city that considers it. And I am here in support of item number 20. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, followed by Jared Putchers.
Good evening, gentlemen. I don't even know what to say. I haven't seen this many people for it since I started this over a year ago. Usually I get told we don't want it at all. So this is a little bit different for me. You know where I stand with this. I think we should be ahead of the market and start making regulations and rules in place so that, you know, the city can be one step ahead of this, because they're right, that market will not go away if you don't have anything in place in the city. They'll still, and they're doing it now. They're doing it now every day. So why don't make some money on it instead of let it just be this market that drains the city of other resources and revenue. That's it tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Jerry, followed by Emiliano Magdaleno.
Jerry Patras, a longtime West Covina resident. I too would like to thank Councilman Johnson for taking the courage of bringing this back up. I live in West Covina. Many of the industry does not. I really am concerned. Other cities are doing it. That's fine. West Covina doesn't need to do this. You open up the door. This council does. Another council may open it up even wider and another one wider where we end up with real sales. We can always go address this issue in the future. Once you do something, it is very hard in the public sector to pull it back. We don't know what the problems are. I know in my neighborhood, I smell marijuana a lot. So getting it isn't a problem. It's there. I refuse to debate the medical benefits. I accept that there are some. That does not mean my city needs to have a commercial warehouse in my neighborhood. I live there. You don't. I think that the residents that live around this should be heard, and we should be able to have more influence. One of the things, and I'm going to wrap this up, that I am really concerned is this lure of money. I worked in, as you know, in community colleges. When the lottery passed, that was going to save education. It didn't, because we charged whatever we could to the lottery budget, so we got raises out of the regular budget. Then I think it was Prop 98 was going to save all of us. We did the same thing. I am highly concerned that this lure of money is going to solve some budget problems that the city really does have. But it's going to do the same thing. It's just a lure, and we're not going to do the necessary steps to rein in the spending and everything, and another council will open it up to dispensary sales or recreation. Please, just hold on and let the future deal with it. We don't need the money right now. Thank you.
Emiliano, followed by Chris Miller.
Hello, Council. My name is Emiliano Magdaleno. I live in the city of Los Angeles. United States Army, 82nd Airborne, 92 to 95. And I came to West Covina when I got out of the service to trade tech. Well, it wasn't trade tech, but it was, if I remember, off West Covina Boulevard. I went there for welding. And while I was in the service, things happened, and I approve your Prop 20. And because I got a little bit of background in West Covina, even though I don't live here now, it just came to my attention, and I just wanted to say my piece that I do approve of this, and it does help individuals. And if regulated properly, I think it would help a city. Thank you.
Chris, followed by Yao, is it Silverstein?
On item 20 for the medical marijuana, the cultivation, what I'd like to say is for the proceeds from that, I'd like to have it earmarked only for retirement. Don't put it in the general fund. And so that way we can carry our burden without, growing our budget over and over and being able, to live within our means. And then secondly, on raises, let's limit it to 2%. You know, the general public isn't getting crazy raises, even though, you know, looking at Transparent California, that's kind of happened over time. You know, 2% cost of living increase is reasonable for a public sector. Thank you.
Thank you, y'all. And then followed by Herb Redholz.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. My name is Ross Overstein, and I'm the Managing Director of Medical Cannabis Dispensary here in Los Angeles County. And I'd like to address a couple of things that have been raised here. There's a tremendous amount of stigma attached to our business. Many of us who have been operating in the city of Los Angeles have been operating for the last 12 years, and we wouldn't be operating now if we hadn't adhered to every rule that the city laid down, which was basically in anticipation of at some point the state deciding to finally come up with regulation, which they've just now basically done with the aid of Prop 64. But those of us who have been in operation for more than a decade now have always stringently adhered to all of the rules that the city laid down regarding public safety. So there are concerns about these facilities possibly creating crime or being unsafe. We have long practice with establishment of protocol for security, and the state mandates a very healthy security presence in an area, so that it basically, if you were to visit any of our dispensaries that are well established and spoke with the people of the community in the surrounding area, they would tell you that they're absolutely thrilled that we're there because they feel more safe to go to their cars at night. We make sure that the entire area is policed properly. I'd also like to touch on the issue of veterans, because I've had extensive contact with veterans as patients, specifically referring to people who have been dealing with post-traumatic stress. And that coming out of the military, a lot of people that with traumatic brain injury or with battle-related trauma are basically given very, very strong medication to deal with whatever they're dealing with. And for a lot of people, they don't handle that very well. And so there's all kinds of unwanted side effects. And I've had endless conversations with veterans about whether it would be wise for them to perhaps try to substitute something. I always tell them to speak with their doctor before doing so. But universally, those that have basically substituted marijuana products for a lot of the antipsychotics they were using have had a much better outcome. They're not debilitated. And I haven't served myself, but have tremendous respect for those who have. And they have if anyone has the right to the best possible quality of life, it's those who have served the country. I'd also like to address the issue of the slippery slope that was raised by one of the residents this evening. And the fact that the taxation wouldn't be what was perhaps expected initially. If you charge a per square foot tax, then there won't be any variation in your tax revenue. You're going to have a tenant there who's going to be paying those taxes, and they're not going to vary. So you have a number that you know you can work off of. Those of us who have been through a great deal in this business to basically get to where all of us are now have a tremendous empathy with those who have seen the dark side of our business. We are not the dark side of our business. We are the people that want to be good neighbors and contributing members of the community. So I'm here this evening to speak in favor of Measure 20. Thank you very much.
Okay, Herb, followed by Wen Zhang.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. First off, I want to welcome back Mark Taylor to the West Covina Police Department. I think he'll do an excellent job as our Chief of Police. Secondly, on item number 20, I think it's important to keep in mind that what we're considering, or what is being talked about, is commercial cultivation only. We're not talking about sales of any kind. It's just the commercial cultivation. So I would urge this council to at least send it back to us on the Planning Commission so we can deal with the parameters and conditions and the licensing and the zoning and all of that we can deal with. That's the very least. Nothing is going beyond that. Let us deal with the parameters and the conditions. Let us work it out, and it's going to come back to you at any rate. But I think what's been said prior regarding the money and all that other stuff, what the gentleman just said is exactly right. It's based on square footage. It's got nothing to do with anything else. It's the square footage of the building. That's a constant number you can count on every single time. So, and there are other cities that are acting. I understand it. We don't have to be like other cities, but other cities are, are in front of this and are going to take advantage of the revenue that is available. And West Covina ain't exactly swimming in dough. So, I think it's something that it should at least be considered. That's my item on that. Also, I want to say one other thing. A couple of weeks ago, I had the occasion to go to the Lake Shopping Center. I don't know if any of you have been there lately. I was there for Mr. Toma's event, and I don't know who's in charge of that center as far as keeping it up. My guess is nobody. It looks like the sidewalks have not been pressure washed, I don't know, ever. There's graffiti on the sidewalks. The plaster is cracking and broken. It needs paint. It's darn near blight. We are spending a lot of money to revitalize that particular area. We're welcoming in new businesses. The Prospectors Credit Union, the Lemon Cuisine of India just opened up. People are going to start to take another look, or a first look at that area. And to go there and see the condition that it is currently, it ain't attractive. So I talked to a lot of people, no one even seems to know who owns it, or who's in charge of it. I don't know. But if you look at it, someone's got to step up, someone's got to make a couple of calls and get somebody out there to start maintaining it because it looks terrible, literally bordering on blight. And that's an embarrassment to this city as we go forward. So someone needs to take a look at it. Thank you. And please consider at least forwarding item 20 to the Planning Commission so we can take care of it. Thank you.
Wenwen Zhang, followed by John Shoemaker.
Oh, crap. Can I say one other thing real quick? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I never do that. Thank you all for your indulgence. Thank you, Dave, for reminding me. There are those 7 kiosks that are sitting there, that have been there dormant for 10 years, that people used to, they had advertising or they would sell knickknacks or cell phone stuff or whatever. They're sitting there empty. They're broken into, they're broken, they're an eyesore. They got to go. Along with everything else, that needs a lot of work, and those things got to go. Thank you.
Please make sure those are delivered to Herb Redholz's house.
Good evening, Mayor Mayor Pro-Tem Spence, City Council Member Tomer, and Council Member Johnson, and the members of the community. And my name is Wenwen Zhang, and I'm the West Covina Library Manager. I would like to make an announcement of some of our upcoming programs at the library. So the library will have a classical concert this coming Saturday, September the 9th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is one of the programs as we celebrate the National Hispanic Heritage Month, September the 15th to October the 15th. And this program is sponsored by the Friends of the West Covina Library. And also this coming Saturday, the Friends of the West Covina Library will have their second Saturday book sale from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the next Monday, September the 11th, we will hold a financial workshop at 6 o'clock in the evening. And if you have ever thought, I wish I had more money, and this will be a good event for you. So at the workshop, you will learn how to make a financial plan, discover your net and ways to increase it, manage your money well, and set financial goals that work for you. So the program will begin at 6 o'clock. And the last Monday of September, September the 25th, and we will have a movie trivia program at 5 o'clock in the evening. So come and join us for this fun movie trivia, which will hope to be a challenging quiz for adults about the movies, the people who make them, and the techniques they use in making them. And we will be also offering 2 prizes for the most knowledgeable participants. And this program is also sponsored by the Friends of the West Covina Library. And the library will hold a 5-week parent-child workshop program every Thursday from October the 12th to November the 9th. The workshop is designed for children ages 1 to 3 and their parents' caregivers. At this 5-week program, children will learn problem-solving skills, vocabularies, and social skills through imaginative play with their parents and caregivers. Adults will learn more about child development, early literacy, children's health, and speech development. Pre-registration is required for this program, and the registration begins September the 11th in the children's room on the 2nd floor. And as always, all library programs are free for the public. Thank you.
John, followed by Louis Arredondo.
Good evening. A couple items that I went through the agenda. Item number 11. It says that we're not spending $61,000 for the year because the swimming program was canceled. A couple questions came to mind since the program, it was announced on May 25th that it wasn't going to happen. Why that $61,000 was even in the budget? It should have been removed and put over into, I'd say the reserves. Also, I understand there's $88,000 that's coming in also, and it seemed like that should go to reserves also. Now, since you've reduced spending in income by about $149,000, I'm kind of hoping the city will take, $4,000 or $5,000 and actually participate in the Red Ribbon Rally. I've been hearing things that the city was going to stay away from the Red Ribbon Rally because of budget constraints. Well, just got $149,000. Can you write a check for $4,000 of it? Because it wasn't going to be spent anywhere. Matter of fact, if you look at the $61,000, that was going to be spent in recreational services for the children in the community. Well, the Red Ribbon Rally, I think, to have our police and fire and different people there is, considered a community event that the city should spend a few dollars on. Item number 12, the Pension Stabilization Fund, or PARS, or as I like to refer to it as the Tui, Hereford, Sanderson, Pasmat, Chung, and Others Retirement Fund. I do not understand how putting $312,000 into a separate pension fund that is only select few people have access to is going to stabilize CalPERS. If that was the case, that it was going to save us all this money in CalPERS by stabilizing the fund, why didn't we take the $8 million and put it in there? It just seems a little contradictory that it's going to stabilize things. Well, why don't we put all the money in the thing that's going to stabilize? And that way we won't have all these other issues. I think it really is. So you won't have people like Phil Moreno getting up here and going, why are you spending this money every year? Bank fees, got to give credit. They went and asked, and they got some bank fees reduced. Amazing what happens when you ask, isn't it? Item 14, I was a little confused. It's undeterminable what the fiscal impact is going to be, but it's highly anticipated that it's going to be beneficial. Well, what's that beneficial? It's the type of thing where why not put, we think it's going to be, if it's significant, tell us what that significant number is. I also like the request to take a look at, why we pay to park when we're at City Hall. We'll say one thing, we're making some money off of it, although it's somewhere between 60% of what was promised about 10, 12 years ago when this was put in. Of course, that was going to help save the city and all its financial issues, which hasn't happened yet. So, the one thing about government, the more money you give it, the more money it'll spend. And if you say, well, if you give me money for, like, the lottery, what governments will do, the agencies that got that money, is spend it instead of in addition to. Except for West Covina Unified, while you were there, you guys, when that started back in the 90s, said, that money is for one-time expenses and only one-time expenses, and we will never count it being there until we get a check. You did it the right way. That money did a lot of things for the school district over the years when you set that policy in place. It's still there. So, a policy that was good, compliment you for that one. So if you do something along those lines, it would help if you had extra funds, you put it and earmark it somewhere else, and it's in addition to, not instead of. I think you'll be better off. So that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Luann, followed by Moses Arredondo.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Spence, Council Members Toma and Johnson. I'm here with co-chair Don Fernald on behalf of Red Ribbon Rally, and we've had multiple conversations over the last few weeks about city involvement with Red Ribbon Rally, and in years past, we had multi-agencies come out and support the rally. We will continue to do that this year. We have DEA earmarked, LAPD, we have surrounding agencies that will be out. My concern is that 28 years West Covina Police Department, explorers, fire department have supported this event. And I think we need to continue that. I think it's fortuitous that Mike put John in front of me, because I didn't know we had that kind of money. I would like to request council consider splitting or covering the $3,700. City staff has said that it's $3,700 to have our police department present, that's SWAT, K-9, all the units there in support of Red Ribbon. The men and women of the department support the event. They would like to be there. Their hands are tied because they're counting on the city or council approving that. So if the city can't come up with the $3,700 from the hundreds of thousands we're saving, then the Red Ribbon team, our business sponsors and other service groups who do participate are willing to come up with that money or split it with the city 50-50. So I think this is a great way for the city to continue a tradition that it has had. We have over 2,500 residents that support Red Ribbon and the education of drug awareness. I know that item 20 is getting a lot of conversation tonight, and I welcome others into our city, although I wish they would go back to their city and give their opinions to their city. I think our residents deserve to be heard, and that this council has a responsibility to our residents. I appreciate Oxnard or Ventura coming down here. I think that's great. But they should not have a say in what goes on in our city. You are elected by our residents. You need to represent our residents. And I hope that you'll take that into account. And thank you, Councilman Johnson, for bringing that issue back up. Appreciate it. Sorry I took up most of your time.
I think all of you know who I am, and I've been involved in this program from the very beginning, 1989. As a DARE officer, as a police officer, and even as I left this department and went to work for the Rolling Unified School District as the Chief of Police of the school district. This is near and dear to my heart and several other people that are involved in it. As Luann mentioned, in the past we've had outside agencies come in and be a part of this program, and sadly that's probably what's going to happen, and West Covina won't be there. I don't know how you expect us to answer those questions when we're asked why are they not here. We've been told that people would like to come speak, but how do you have a chief of police come in and speak about the program and not have his police department there? So I think to save that kind of a problem for a chief, I know I wouldn't want to be in that position, save him that problem. If the West Covina Police Department can't be there, he's welcome to be there, but we're certainly not going to have him get that deeply involved because I don't want to put him in front of that large group of people. We will pay that cost if that's what you need us to do. That's how important it is to us. It's how important it is to the Camarena Foundation, who will be here again this year. People that gave the ultimate sacrifice and their husband died because of this type of thing. And we want to continue this. What they've told us multiple times, and not just them, but people from the San Diego area, if they could take our program and copy it and take it to San Diego, they would be in heaven down there. But they haven't been able to pull it together like we have. It's people like Dave Alfaro and myself and Luann and other people that are part of this committee that want to have this continue. As one of the people that I think some of you may know, may not know, Daryl Gates, Los Angeles PD Chief of Police, started the DARE program because he had problems with his kids and drugs and tried to help parents. He and I had many conversations. When I completed DARE school, we talked. And he said, if we can prevent one child from being involved in the use of drugs, we can save that family millions of dollars and the surrounding people also. We need to make that difference. If you want your department to be there to help us make that difference, fine. If you don't, that's your choice. Thank you.
Just one last thing. If we're going to bring dispensaries into West Covina and growing in West Covina, we need to bring the education with it. Red Ribbon Rally educates the public. Thank you.
Moises, followed by John Lim.
Good evening, council members. My name is Moses Arredondo, longtime resident at West Covina. I'm here to say no on 20. This is just my opinion. I usually don't do this. I don't come up and I don't speak. But I was forced because there's too many people coming up here that are not from West Covina. And in my opinion, West Covina is up here. You know, if I understand that weed helps people. I know some people that abuse it, actually, and they could get that in another city. West Covina is better than that. That's what I believe. I mean, I go out there and I smell it too. It's like when my son was smaller, I mean, he's 17 now. When he was younger, it used to bother me. Go to the parks and you smell it, and it's like, are you serious? It's like, do that at your house. Do that in another city. This is my city. This is West Covina. There's Baldwin Park, there's La Puente. People could go out of this city just a couple of blocks. Go get it, that's fine. It helps you, no problem. You have a card, a medical card, okay, fine. Just don't bring it into this city. We are better than this. West Covina is better than this. Thank you, gentlemen.
John Lim, followed by JD.
Good evening. I came here in support of item 20. I'd just like to tell a personal story of mine.
Can you speak in the mic?
I'm sorry. I've had chronic insomnia pretty much all my life. And I've tried various things. Doctors have given me medications that, while they worked, had very, very debilitating side effects. I then turned to alcohol, which didn't work out so good. When I went ahead and decided to try marijuana, that was the one thing that really, really helped me. I have no side effects. I get great sleep. I'm more productive. I realize that there are people here who feel that it's a bad thing, and I'm sure, just like anything else, it can be abused. But in my case, I have to say that it's just been a very positive thing. Really, I smoke it at night. I go to sleep, get up the next morning, go to work, and I'm a productive citizen. And that's all I wanted to say. Just my personal experience and how I think it really helped me and how I think it could help everybody as long as it's regulated correctly. Thank you.
JD? We'll see. I'll ask him.
I'm starting to believe that marijuana is going to bring back the cartilage in my knees. It's such a wonderful drug, honest to God. But I do want to point out the hypocrisy and this appeal to pity and to the veterans. It bothers me. It's rather disingenuous. I'm sure there's sincere feelings about the help they get from smoking marijuana, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's illegal. But when this came up in its early days, this council prefaced this tracket by saying, we want to offset what's coming down the road. In the event that Prop 64 passes, we want to prepare for what may result. That was disingenuous too, because this has been about money from the minute that it came up. And it became real to me when you sent it to the Planning Commission, and Mr. Redholz, Mr. Jimenez, and the chair of that Planning Commission, and Mike said, this has nothing to do with money. No, Mr. DeRue, it doesn't have to do with money. In fact, I had been already off the podium when they emphasized it had nothing to do with money. Since then, some of these folks that are in favor of it have come up and honestly said, you know what? This is all about money. It's about the tax revenues that you're going to get, that lure that was spoken about. But you, council, have not acknowledged that. You keep wanting to disguise this to try to sell this to the public as either panacea for all the elements of the world, but you don't want to be honest and say, you know what, this is a tax revenue that we want to tap into, and we know it's an illegal drug. We know it's a Schedule I drug. We know that it's not federally legal. And yes, we enforce other federal laws, but we're going to forego this one. You're not satisfied with it being just what the people of California pass. That is, that you can grow it and you can smoke it. You now want to get into the drug business, because that's what it is. It's a drug business. Hide it and disguise it any way you want, but it's a drug business. If any of us would have been caught with marijuana, say 2 years ago, we would have been arrested. Now, all of a sudden, it's become socially acceptable. And you have these folks here either appealing to you on the base of pity, the base of their illness, or because it's somehow deserving of veterans that have fought for this country to have this available to them for all their elements. And then you have those more honest guys that are coming over here trying to get you to let them open up dispensaries so they can sell it to kids, because that's who's going to be buying it. They're going to get the one that's 18 to go in there, that's going to get a permit or a prescription right there on Venice Beach. He's going to walk in there and get his marijuana, and he's going to hand it out to his buddies that are in high school. You know that's what's going to happen. You can disguise it any way you want, but you at least need to be honest and admit that you're motivated by the money, and you're damn the morality of it, damn the fact that it's illegal according to the federal government, and damn to the fact that it wasn't no more than a year ago that none of you would have publicly said that you were in support of it. You're doing it now because you think you have enough folks out there that want you to support it. What you're doing to the city of West Covina is terrible. And La Puente, Baldwin Park, they don't have dispensaries. So if you're looking to LA, I suggest that you guys drive down to LA, Melrose and Western. I grew up down there. That's nothing but a tent city of people smoking marijuana. Homeless drug addicts. Thank you.
Okay, that's the last of the public comment cards that I received. Is there anyone else that wishes to address us? Yeah, sure.
went ahead and put my business
Okay, Eric?
address there.
That's fine.
Evening, gentlemen, ladies. My name's Eric Intermill. I'm a local business owner here in West Covina. I've got Craft Hill right at the 10 and Grand. I did put my business address there because although I'm not a resident, I spend more time in West Covina than I do any other part of San Gabriel Valley. As I look around, I have some fans in the room, I think, of my restaurant. Also some celebrities. We do some fabulous karaoke, and I won't point to anybody specifically who's already gasped at the thought. So on our grand opening event, we had a wonderful time. We had all of the council members in support, and so we very much appreciate that support. As you know, we've also looked at growing our business opportunities in the city of West Covina, potentially with the lakes and at the Colony Project. A few weeks after that, because we had fun that night, I got a call actually from a young lady sitting behind me that wanted to host another event in our restaurant, a karaoke event for a Japanese delegation of council members from the sister city. Again, had an amazing time, had a lot of our celebrities here up on stage that night. And then the next day, I got a courteous phone call from somebody in planning and development that said, "Oh, Eric, last night I heard it was wonderful. I just need you to submit the CUP for your live entertainment." I said, "Not a problem at all. We'd like to continue to do live entertainment in our establishment. Go ahead and send me the application. I'll write the check. We'll take care of it." And I received this application with, if anybody in the room has seen a CUP for the city of West Covina, there's a lot of requirements there. One of them is 15 prints of the site plan, 15 prints of the floor plan, 15 prints of the elevation plans. These would be the surrounding areas for drainage and things of that sort. You can imagine when Chris karaoke's, the city's very concerned about which way the water is going to drain. Long story short, in addition to all these things, which I'm happy to provide, they also request a $2,500 deposit. For that $2,500 deposit, the city council requires a filing fee of $140 for miscellaneous processing cost, plus $90 per hour for staff time. So I guess in saying that, we've all determined West Covina is very pro-business. We want small business owners to come forward. We want to promote new business here. But as a small business owner, to walk into a city and be told that I have to leave a deposit of $2,500 to continue doing business is a little bit absurd to me. As I said, I'm a local business owner. We have funded ourselves with very limited capital. If I had the pedigree to say that I was a Portos or something that had tremendous support from the community and funding, I might have that $2,500 dispensable to me. But I'm not asking for any handouts, but what I am looking for is an explanation of how the money is used. Because it doesn't have a timeline of reimbursement. It doesn't say how or what hours would be required to go through that process. To me, as a local business owner, I think it's something maybe the council should reconsider the verbiage there, maybe attach a fixed cost to that permit, something that might be more appropriate and help small business owners continue to conduct business. So in light of that, I wanted to throw out the offer tonight. In addition to the $140 administrative fee, which I know is very reasonable, I don't think the city attorney has any objections to our live entertainment, if she will admit to being one of them, and I don't think the city manager objects to it either. So I will bring this back and I will apply with the CUP process, but given what I've heard tonight, if the city would be willing to waive my CUP deposit for this transaction, my business would like to donate $500 to the Red Ribbon Fund and support their cause and get them where they should be. So it's on you, Mr. Freeland, city manager. You can make the decision. The $500 is either going to Paulina or it's going to go to these fine ladies and gentlemen here for their cause. And you'll get your $140, and you guys are always welcome to come karaoke. So with that, my last 30 seconds, I want to let everybody know we are going to be opening on Mondays now. We've been a Tuesday through Sunday business. We won't be open all day, but the most important part of Monday evening is Monday Night Football. Kicks off Monday, September 11th, so please come join us at Craft Hill. And we've got a lot of great beer specials, wings and fries specials. Just try to do something fun for all the people that are stuck working on the weekends to be able to get out Monday night and enjoy themselves. So. And I'll look forward to an answer on my proposal. Thank you all.
Bruce Leinbach. And if anybody else wants to speak, now's the time to bring up the card. Bruce?
Early bird gets a worm, right? Almost. Hey, I want to speak about, first for one thing, about the streets as far as the constructions of the, first of all, the freeway off-ramps at Azusa, then the other one at Citrus. I remember I came up here to talk about 5 months ago, and they said, hey, we got this construction going, and they aren't going, it's not going too fast, and when are they going to do it? And this was about 5 months ago. I feel in there that time, they probably got done maybe another 15, 20%, and they still got half of it to do. And I just wondered, I don't know, we're getting the funding from the state or the county, one of the two or maybe both, and we got our funding to fund this project. I just wonder what they would schedule or whatever. I mean, I remember in the LA Times, and also TV, the city is bragging how on some of these new projects, it's going to be like 2 miles, they would cut off all the freeways as far as the exits in that area, that tear up the freeway, and within 2 days, they'd have new freeways. Here we are, almost the way it's going to be is about a year. I don't know if there's any coordination, because I drive across Citrus all the time, and I never see hardly anybody working. Same way with Azusa. It's just like we're not a slow, I think we're in a stop mode. So I just wonder if it's going to be done. I can't believe it takes that. We put a lot of funds up, and I don't think we're getting our money's worth. Also, another thing, I want to congratulate the council on the selection of Mark Taylor as police chief. I've seen a lot of police chiefs come and go in this city, and I can't think of a better person than Mark Taylor. I don't know of any police chief that we've had where he's so involved in the community. His kids went to local schools. He went to school events. He was there all the time. He supported them completely. He supported the schools. And I don't know of any police chief or any policeman that was that involved in our city as far as the city, the events, the activities, the schools, the Chamber of Commerce, or things like that. But he's involved in everything, and I think he's a great choice. And he's a police chief. He's got all that experience. I think he retired 5 years, and he came back. I just want to commend the council. He took the gumption. A lot of places, once you leave for 5 years, you're gone. But you brought him back, because I think it was an excellent selection to have Mark Taylor as our next chief, and I wish him the best, and I think he's going to be a great chief. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes public comment for this time. Mr. City Manager?
Can I speak for just 1 moment off of our card we had earlier?
Well, you did already. You spoke 5 minutes already, Don.
I didn't.
Yeah, but you both did it together. Go ahead, and what do you want to say real quick?
Well, when the gentleman was talking back here about younger people, having people with the medical cards going in and buying for them and then giving it to them, and I saw people in your audience smirk and start laughing about that, I guarantee you, working with Roland Unified School District, that does happen. I've had numerous cases where kids have the bottles with the prescription on it, medical marijuana, and it was given to them by somebody else.
Okay.
So what the gentleman said about that is quite true, and that's what's going to happen if you have dispensaries in our area.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak again? We're good? No, we're good? Yeah, JD, you want? Okay, Mr. City Manager, do you have any additional comments to add to the issues raised tonight?
I do, if I can take a couple of moments. First, Bruce, with regards to the freeway project, the city is not funding that project. It's fully funded through Caltrans. They're the ones that are doing all the construction of the project. The good news is that they're almost, I want to say halfway done with the current segment that goes from Baldwin Park to about Citrus. And then the next segment goes from Citrus all the way to the 57. I believe we have 3 or 4 more years to look forward to of this construction. So that's not, yeah, so unfortunately I think we have 4 more years left of this.
Is that West Covina, you're talking 4 years or 2 years?
Total of 4 years from here all the way, or excuse me, from the border of Baldwin Park all the way through West Covina to the 57 freeway. And so we are looking at about 4 more years of construction.
They've been doing this Citrus for such a long time.
They have, and they've got more work to be done. Correct. So what they're doing is they're redoing bridges, making sure there's elevations for vehicles to get underneath in the trucks. There is a construction schedule that Caltrans has on their website. If you go to the city's website, we have a link to that, so you can have that up-to-date information. Oh, my 5 minutes is up? Thank you very much. So that's with regards to Mr. Leinbach's questions. Eric, unfortunately, I can't have you pass through $500 from us to the Red Ribbon, but knowing you as a great business owner, I'm sure we can help figure out your situation and you're still good for $500. No, we work closely with Eric over at Craft Hill and some other matters, and so we'll make sure we follow up and give him the information he's looking for. And to be honest, I'm surprised to see him at the dais because we've always had a good relationship where if he needed something, we were able to resolve it, so he didn't have to wait to come up here. Next item with regarding to Herb Redholz. You know, I like when people in the community give us little softballs like that. We are actually scheduling meetings with the property owners of the lakes because Edwards does not own their property. It is an investor, as well as there's another investor that owns the rest of the commercial center and then the halfway in between part, which is the fountain. So we'll be working with both property owners as the Glendora Avenue project moves forward to let them know exactly what the city council's desire is for that downtown area and hope that they can make improvements to their property because they're only going to benefit from that work as well. Mr. Shoemaker, man, he did it again. He drops a grenade and runs off. Unfortunately, the information he had was incorrect. On number 11, he talks about the city pools budget. City council did say that as part of this year's budget, we are ceasing operations as far as city funding for half of the pool operations. But that doesn't happen immediately. We have to work with the school district to find when that transition is. Based on conversations with the school district, that transition is to begin on September 1st, which just is passing. And what the school district is going to do is they're going to fully fund the cost to maintain the pool for their programs because they have swimming, as well as water polo over there for the school projects. So there's not going to be a cost to the city, and they're actually asking the city to do the work, and they're going to reimburse us for those expenses. So in tonight's agenda, there's a budget amendment saying there's $88,000 of money coming in from the school district, and the city has an equivalent about $88,000 of expenditures, so it's going to end up being a wash for the city. So there is no savings that Mr. Shoemaker was speaking of. There was a small budget that was approved because of that transition. I'm not sure how he got to $149,000, but again, we'll be more than happy to follow up with him on that matter. On number 12, he says that we're spending $321,000 in a special fund to fund the Chung, Hereford, Toohey, Sanderson, et cetera, retirement fund. That too is incorrect. The item on the agenda, number 12, for those of you who are part of the city's budget process, one of the activities and concerns that the residents and the council has is trying to figure out ways to be creative to address our unfunded liabilities that we have for pension costs here in the city. With the adoption of the budget, the city council authorized city staff to pay a portion of our pension liabilities up front this year to the tune of about $8 million. By doing that prepayment, CalPERS is giving us a savings of $321,000 towards that pension liability for this year and this year only. Okay, so that $321,000, the city council, rather than putting it back into the general fund balance, has said we need to start addressing our unfunded pension liabilities. So that $321,000 is going to go into a special pension trust fund that can only be used for future pension liabilities of the city, not select individuals, as was stated. So this is a great effort that West Covina is actually taking a forefront to start addressing our unfunded pension liabilities here in our community. We'll be able to take advantage of this hopefully in the coming years as well. Lastly, on I think you spoke about item number 14. Item number 14 is regarding a variety of side letters to our memorandums of understandings with staffing. As part of the adoption of this year's budget, we are going to be partnering with West Covina Ford, if approved this evening, to do a public-private partnership, which is going to generate revenues, lease revenue to the city. It's also going to provide more efficient repairs and service to our fleet vehicles that we have with the city, because they're able to work on all of our Ford police cars, but also they've gotten a contract with Los Angeles County to do their fire trucks and heavy equipment. And so we have fire trucks and heavy equipment, so it's only natural that we're able to work with West Covina Ford to generate significant savings. Now, when we say in the staff report there's significant savings, in the budget we spoke about a variety of savings that the city would incur, including rent revenues of $274,000 from West Covina Ford to use our facilities. And then also we're anticipating about $430,000 in savings to our fleet operations. Our fleet operations are over $1 million here in the city. And so this is an opportunity to try and save the taxpayer monies that wouldn't been going toward that fleet service. In addition, we're also eliminated our what we call reprographics, or print shop. A city of our size, we don't need to have a separate staff member doing photocopying. We don't need a separate staff member ordering stuff from Office Depot. Other staff can handle those operations, and they're quite quick and easy now. There's something called the internet where we can order all that stuff. So we're going to save about $80,000 in operational costs from elimination of that program. That's what all these memorandums of understanding are in place, because we have to make agreements with the employee groups before we can make these changes. And so that is why they're, we've stated these savings in the past, and just want to make sure that the public is aware of that. Lastly, with regards to Ms. Arrendando's comments about Red Ribbon Rally, again, the City Council, as part of this year's budget, eliminated funding for all community service or community events. That includes Red Ribbon Rally, let's see, I'm trying to think of Martin Luther King celebration, or other programs where it's any out-of-pocket cost for the city. So one of the things you saw this year is, like, the movies in the park this year were held at the Plaza West Covina. The Plaza West Covina footed the bill for that program. And this year there was 4th of July, of course, and the summer concert series. All those programs were previously funded through a fund through the Athens Services before this current fiscal year. So that's why those programs are occurred. But as of right now, we've eliminated all future community events that the city funds or sponsors. We are only doing those where the out-of-pocket costs are reimbursed by outside organizations, or we have sponsorships. And so that's how the direction of the City Council has been at this time. With that, I think that addresses all the questions, and it's appropriate to go with the balance of your agenda.
Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, Mr. Thomas.
So on the community events, is the City Foundation going to evaluate to see what events are still possible with the funds in there, or what's the situation with that?
Sure. So we are bringing back on the 19th or October? Excuse me, in October, there are some remaining funds in the Community Services Foundation in certain line items, and that foundation, at that time, the foundation can decide how they wish to use those funds. They can use it for community events, they can use it for improvements to certain infrastructure here in the city, depending on how those funds are donated. For example, there's funds donated by folks that said they must and only be used for the Veterans Memorial. So we won't take any of those funds. That should be there for the future maintenance or ongoing services. But there may be funds available for other things if the foundation deems appropriate. And they will have that meeting in October to see. But I will tell you, there's not going to be a whole lot of money left over to do so.
Any other questions? Okay, we're on the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove an item? Mr. Tomey, you want to take any item off? Consent? Yes. You want to take what off?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I believe the city treasurer was here. Maybe she's gone. Oh, she's in the back.
Yeah. So does the council
Item 5.
Well, we'll see if the council wants to take that off. The
True.
manager doesn't take it off.
And then item 8 for us.
Okay.
So
no, he can't pull it.
I don't need to pull it.
The council.
I don't need to pull it. I'm a no on number 7.
Okay.
And then, but I did want to. I did want to pull number 12.
Item 12.
Yeah, number 11.
Okay.
And.
What did you say, number 11?
Yeah, 11, 12, and 15.
And 15. Okay. You want to pull anything?
5.
5. Oh, we already said that. Okay. Okay, we're pulling items number 5. Mr. Toma is a no on 7, but it's not being pulled. Number 8 was tabled to the next meeting at the request of Councilman Johnson. 11 is pulled, 12 is pulled, and 15 is pulled. Oh, and I should add that resolution number 2017-93 is not part of item 14. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve as read.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to consent? Okay. Okay, we're on item number 5. Investment report.
Thank you. Good evening, council members, members of the community. Colleen Rosati, elected city treasurer. This is the investment report for the month ending July 31st, 2017. The investment report that is attached in this evening's packet represents the city's cash and investments for the month ending July 31st. This report is in compliance with the California Government Code Section 53646 regarding the reporting of detailed information on all securities, investments, and monies of the cities, as well as reporting the market value of investments held. All of the investments contained within the portfolio are in full compliance with Government Code Section 53601 and the city's investment policy as to the types of investment were allowed. The city's investment policy was last reviewed by the City Council May 16, 2017. As stated in the attached report, there seems to be significant funds to meet the budget's expenditures. The city's investment policy has set primary goals of a portfolio management of safety, liquidity, and yield. The city currently utilizes Chandler Asset Management, who uses an active investment management approach in which securities are purchased but not necessarily held to maturity. The city's cash flow requirements are evaluated on an ongoing basis, with short-term needs accommodated through the city's pooled investment fund, California County Investment Pool. At July 31st, 2017, the city's investment portfolio had a market value of $45,673,467. Now, that does include about $35 million, which is currently invested with Chandler Asset. A couple concerns that I have, which was just discussed by City Manager Freeland, in looking at the investment report and the month-end for June, I did notice, and it was just, as I said, discussed, they did pull the money out of the LA County Investment Pool, and that was about $9,438,711, and that was to pre-fund CalPERS.
And what exactly was your concern with that?
My concern is that we do have enough money to meet our required debts. And in speaking to Nicole, she said that I know that there may be a reliance on property taxes, but I have not seen in the years that I have been the city treasurer, $8 million coming in the month of December and January to the tune of $8 million. Chandler is doing a very conservative
I guess I don't
with our
understand.
$35 million investment.
You said there was a concern about us pulling the money out to pay CalPERS.
No, I'm not saying.
I guess I don't understand what
What I'm saying, Mike, is that I just want to make sure that we have a lot of liquidity, and the investments of $35 million are on a tiered basis, which is what we set up initially. Now, as they have started to mature, they're going out on a farther term. Does that make sense? So we have very few that are going to be maturing currently. I have an idea for you. As in November 18th of 2017, we'll have $1,200,000 that'll mature. We have on the 15th of December 2017, $500,000, and in January of 2018, $375,000. My recommendation to Chandler was maybe not to roll that over into a longer term, like a 3 or a 5 year, but keep it short term in the event, due to the fact that we have prepaid the CalPERS, we may need some liquidity. Does that make sense? So that's my concern, that we have 35 million invested so far
Do you have
out.
do you have a cash flow chart that you can show us as a council?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a cash flow chart that you can show us as a council on what your concern's based on?
I would be more than happy to prepare one. I didn't know you were going to ask for one this evening.
Well, I mean, you're making a statement saying there's a cash flow problem, and so in order to show that, you need to show a cash flow statement so that I could see that
I'd
that's
be
actually
more than happy
valid.
to prepare one, Mr. Spence.
Thank you.
So based on that, I just want to let the public know that I do have some concerns and I have that right to do so. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. If not, I will get the answers for you. If there aren't any.
Are there any more questions? Is there a motion to receive the report?
Make a motion, receive and file.
Is there a second? I'll second. Okay, it's been moved to second. Is there any objection to consent? Okay, the motion carries. We're on item number 11. Mr. Toma, you pulled this?
Yep, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there's some clarity because I know there's some questions about this, and you explained a little bit earlier on. But you know, there's these the numbers suggested that we're actually going to come out ahead by a little over 20,000. Maybe you could explain why that is because of the change in the the district's approach to the pool as to what we last heard during the budget process.
Certainly, I'll have Nicole Bresciani chime in if I have any incorrect information. The city and the school district historically have shared the cost for the maintenance of the municipal pool. As the pool is looking to be on its last leg and they're going to be beginning construction on a new aquatic center probably in May to June of 2018, the city has a budget saving measure because there is a significant cost that are needed to improve the pool. We've decided to work with the school district to get our interests out of the pool, which is including a settlement with the school district on some of our financial interests in the pool, but also the ongoing maintenance. As such, since our staff has historically provided the maintenance and the school district has reimbursed a portion of it, that's what this is. So the school district will be reimbursing the city for some of the staff time that will be incurred by Mike Cressup, who is the park superintendent, who has been overseeing this program. So the funds that we're asking for to be appropriated will be reimbursed by the school district, which is a portion of Mr. Cressup's time to do the maintenance, as well as the chemicals and other supplies needed as well. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think so. And the pool construction is going to begin in 2018.
Councilman Toma, yes. The construction was slated originally when we had met with them. The school had said that in January of 2018 is when the construction would begin. And so our initial discussions in terms of why we closed the pool program in May was also due to the fact that the construction was going to be happening sooner, the construction on the track. Had we gone forward with the operations there, we would have had some interruptions as well because they've hit some underground lines of things, et cetera. So from what we've heard as recent updates, they've moved that timeline to May or June, but nonetheless, it would be before the contract was expiring.
So just to confirm, so absolutely no summer swim program, sounds like next year. And then do you know how long they plan to take to build the pool?
The initial meeting that we had when we met with the design firm a couple months ago was that we were looking at another year out. So we had already known that we were going to be losing out on summer of 2018 for, actually we were under the impression that we were going to be losing out of the entire calendar year of 2018. But as it stands now, it looks like it's, they're going to start construction May, June, maybe even sooner, just depends on what their other construction plans are because they have district-wide construction going on, and then from there it's supposed to be a year, but based on the design specs that we saw from the initial plan, I don't know because it's a big undertaking.
Do you have any other questions? Any other council members? Is there a motion?
Yeah, thank you. I'll move to adopt the resolution number 2017-87.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the budget amendment resolution. Any objection to consent? Okay, it's approved 3-0. Item number 12, Mr. Toma, you pulled it from consent.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, and again, I thought this is an important enough agenda items, I thought some further clarification by staff would be appropriate. We made a decision at a prior council meeting to prepay the unfunded liability portion for 2017-2018, and then because of that, there was this savings of $312,000, and I want to get an explanation from the staff so the public can understand what exactly is being proposed to do with that money. And this is a one-time thing, but is this going to happen every year where such a decision will have to be made with respect to prepaying the PERS liability and so forth?
Thank you. Yes, that's absolutely correct. So what happens is by making the prepayment, in essence, we get a discounted rate on the actual cost of the unfunded pension liability that we are paying forth each year. So that $300,000, rather than, as I mentioned earlier, diverting those funds back into the general fund balance, which the city has the option, the city council has made the choice to start funding the future liabilities of the city's pension. And so this is an opportunity for us to start putting monies aside to start to address more of that unfunded liability for pensions. And so this goes into a pension trust fund. So moving forward, these funds will be invested and incur interest on the value of those investments, which stays in that fund to further help pay off the future liabilities. And more importantly, these funds, once they're in this account, cannot be taken out and put into day-to-day operations of the city or any other use. They can only be utilized for future pension liabilities.
So there is a choice between using that money just putting it into the general fund versus dedicating those funds for PERS liability in particular, and this is the proposal to do for future PERS liability. And then what discretion does the city have with respect to the money that goes into PARS if that's the decision that gets made?
Sure. So city adopts an investment policy. These funds will be governed by that investment policy as well. And the investment policy is something that is reviewed annually by the city council, and these funds will have to be meet those investment funds.
Does anyone have any other questions? Is there a motion?
So I'll move to adopt the attached resolution number 2017-85, as well as appoint city manager, the city's plan administrator, and authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute the final documents of the trust, and authorize the transfer of $312,195 to the Pension Rate Stabilization Trust Fund.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to establish a pension stabilization trust fund. Any objection to consent? It's approved 3-0. Item number 15, Mr. Toma, you pulled it off?
Thank you. The staff report does a pretty good job, I think, explaining what this would be used for in terms of getting an additional sworn officer to with respect to traffic safety. I understand that there's specific requirements of the money with respect to dedicating it to DUI issues, checkpoints, and other such things. But there is some discretion in that as well, because the reason why I asked is because I know that we've gotten some complaints with respect to the issue that got brought up earlier on today with the traffic problems that have been created as a result of the expansion of the freeway construction. And I'm wondering if this officer can be used for that purpose as well, because we've had some traffic accidents as a result of that, of people trying to get around other people in an unsafe manner on roads that weren't designed for through traffic with that kind of volume. And so my question is, can this grant, which I fully support because it is for a good reason, we could use the personnel, but if it can be used for those things as well.
Thank you, Mr. Toma. Yes. First of all, let me make sure it's clear. We're adding an additional police officer to our sworn staff, so we're going from 104 to 105, which is another addition. But let me have Chief Bell come forward and answer the question specifically to the use of the grant.
A person that's in this position on a limited basis to basically target those traffic conditions that have been created through the construction zone. As you know, every street north of the freeway, south of the freeway have been impacted and is in desperate need of some enforcement action, and we can use that person for that reason.
That's great.
Okay, any other questions? I just want to make a comment real quick, and this mandates that we have to do 2 DUI checkpoints. You know, just I mean, for what it's worth, LA County did 2 DUI checkpoints and they caught 1 person, you know, who was driving under the influence, and they did a lot more driver's license busts. And it's because you have to announce there's a DUI checkpoint, and so every bar puts up that there's a DUI checkpoint going on, and it's all over Twitter and it's all over everything. It's a very inefficient way to catch people with DUIs. And I don't know if there's ever going to be flexibility where we could have officers, I don't know, traveling around areas that sell alcohol at 1 to 2 in the morning, because that's obviously a better way to try to catch people that are actually drinking and driving than a static checkpoint that everybody seems to know about. So I don't know, but you have to do the checkpoints, right, as part of the grant. So I guess that's an issue for OTS. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion on this item?
Yeah, thank you. I'll move to accept the OTS Selective Traffic Enforcement Program grant. Authorize the city manager or as a designee to execute all the grant-related documents. Authorize the addition of 1 sworn officer position in the police department, and adopt resolution number 2017-86.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to consent? Okay, the item is approved 3-0. That ends our consent calendar. We're now on a public hearing. Item number 18. This matter is set for the adoption of expedited permitting procedures for electric vehicle charging stations pursuant to Assembly Bill 1236. Will the city clerk verify that proper legal notice has been given?
Verified.
Okay, at this time I shall open the public hearing on adding Article, so what is that? 18 to Chapter 7, titled Permit Process for Electric Vehicle Charging Stations. But first, there will be a presentation from staff, and then we'll hear from the public. Mr. City Manager, who is presenting for staff?
Thank you. Thank you. Long Tang from the Public Works Department will give you a brief presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Assembly bill adopted in October 2015 by state legislatures requires a jurisdiction like ours, with a population of less than 200,000 residents, to establish by ordinance procedures to expedite the processing of permits for electrical vehicle charging stations. The adoption of AB 1236 further promotes the state's policy on encouraging the use of alternative and renewable energy sources. The bill's intent is to remove unreasonable barriers that unreasonably restrict the ability of homeowners and businesses to install electrical vehicle charging stations through the local permitting process. It requires that the local municipalities adopt an ordinance outlining an expedited permitting process to install electrical vehicle charging stations. The review of the application will be limited to the building official's review of whether it meets all of the health and safety requirements of the state and local codes and federal laws. The application and checklist adopted to implement the expedited permitting process shall be made available on the city website and at the public counter. Such application and checklist shall substantially conform to the guidelines developed by the Governor's Office of Planning and Development, Planning and Research. The ordinance presented herein strictly adheres with the language of AB 1236. In addition, it requires that the building will provide a written notice of deficiency of the application within 5 days of receiving the application. Once an application is deemed complete, the building official must notify the application that it has been approved within 30 days or issue notice that the applicants must obtain a use permit within 30 days. Finally, the ordinance also requires that all these, the installation of these charging stations complies with the city adopted parking standards. The applicant may appeal any unfavorable decision by the building official to the planning commissions through the city's appeal procedures. In keeping with the intent of the AB 1236 and this ordinance, the permit application process with the building divisions will be as streamlined as possible. The permit application will utilize the current building and electrical permit applications in use for other projects within the city seeking construction permits. Staff is currently developing a checklist of notifying necessary information to submit along with the applications. such as a site plan identifying the locations of the charging stations, quantity and types of chargers to be installed, ampere ratings of the existing electrical service, electrical load calculations, and then certain items or elements that to make us to ensure a safe operation of the electrical system. There will be no fiscal impact associated with the adoption of this ordinance. There will be some revenues generated by the issuance of permits. However, those permit costs and revenues generated will be based on staff's time and plans checking and inspections. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions by staff, by any of the council members? Okay. Madam City Clerk, have you received any written protests, objections, or comments concerning permitting procedures for electric vehicle charging stations pursuant to Assembly Bill 1236?
No, none have been received.
Okay. Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this item? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, seeing none, I shall now close this public comment portion of the hearing and ask for City Council discussion. Is there any City Council discussion? Mr. Toma.
Yeah, so so I just got an electric vehicle not too long ago. I leased it, and I'm deciding whether to do one of these charging stations. I'm curious, will we separate out? Will we quantify the number of permits that they get approved going forward? Can we set, if we don't ordinarily do that, if they're not ordinarily separated out, can we get a report in a couple of years with respect to how many of these permits are issued? I just know that there's going to be a huge number of electric vehicles that are going to be getting out on the road because of those policy reasons and because the car manufacturers are all working on cheaper, mass market vehicles, and so a lot of different auto manufacturers are working their own electric vehicles, and I know the infrastructure is going on. There's discussion of state legislation to further subsidize all electric vehicles. So I guess those are my two questions. One, do we quantify out and separate out the different kinds of permits, including this one, so we get information about how many actually get approved? And if not, I'd like to just make a request that we report that back to the council at some point that's appropriate, either a year out or 2 years out after this is put in place.
I mean, that is something definitely that we can put into our permitting system to clearly categorize or what type of charge is being installed, what type, if need be. I don't know if we can actually gather people's information regarding their vehicles, but in terms of the type of charger, level 1, level 2, or those type of things, even the quick DC type chargers or commercial ones, we can definitely put that into our permitting system that will quantify or at least categorize information for council.
Thank you. And on the subject, aren't we about to install some new charging stations through Southern California Edison program? And do you know the locations and where that is in terms of the schedule?
I know. I mean, I've seen a few. I think Chino can probably give you a better and more thorough information than I can.
The only project that we are aware of right now is the city project where we will be installing 7 charging stations at city facilities. But I'm not aware of any Southern California Edison project. We did talk to a consultant more than a year ago, and he's working with AQMD on funding some of these projects, but nothing has really come out of it.
So is that Charge Ready program that Southern California Edison talks about with respect to, I believe they do some preliminary work for cities that are interested in identifying spots. Are we not working with them in terms of these 7 new stations that the city is doing?
The 7 stations that we're doing, 50% of the funding will be coming from AQMD, and the other 50% we are using some of the AQMD subvention funds. But I think you were asking about Edison, though, right. And I'm not aware of any. As far as I know, they have lower rates, time of day rates, and all that. But I'm not really aware of any funding from them.
Okay, it's a program, and I know they just had initial people, but it's basically to save cities money in terms of doing some of the preliminary work to figure out where. I think the city just has to identify some certain spots where they would make sense, and Southern California Edison is supposed to provide some of the design work or some of the preliminary work to make it either cheaper or I don't know about free, but cheaper for cities to have these things installed? Because I just know that there's going to be a much larger infrastructure demand with respect to these things in the future. Thank you.
If you can, Mr. Kasuni, can you tell the locations where the 7 are going to be installed at?
5 of the charging stations will be located here at City Hall. I think there will be 2 up on the top level of the parking structure. There's 1, I think, in the 2nd level, and there will be another 2 in the lower, in the ground floor level. There will be 1 that will be installed at Plaza West Covina, and another 1 at Big League Dreams. So total of 7.
And then what we'll do is we'll also follow up with our contacts in California Edison about the program that they're offering that you mentioned.
Quick question, how does this work? For example, I know a development that went in, not in West Covina, but in a neighboring city where every single home's garage had an electric charging unit, you know, because that was something that they test marketed that everybody, even if they didn't have electric cars, thought they should have. I don't know. But how does that work? I mean, does each one have to be individually then permitted? Or if there's a development like that, how does that all get done?
The current code, California code, does not require it on single family. A lot of developers are actually promoting this. They're actually saying, well, ours is EV ready, meaning essentially just we have enough ampere on our box and we have a conduit for it. So a lot of promotion is for those type of things.
And so that doesn't require a permit? That's different than this?
No, it's different. It's just it's a promotion a developer would put out to.
So if they actually made, I mean, I guess what's the difference between someone being able to do it in their garage and a station? I guess what's that difference?
I'm sorry.
What's the difference between someone that can do it in their garage and an electric charging station, I guess?
I mean, I think my understanding is that these charging stations are these separate sort of box-like things that you have installed. But if your house comes with enough charge ready, you can basically just plug it in but with a higher outlet voltage so that it charges your car faster. So I think it's different that way.
So they don't have
most homes right now are not EV ready. So that's the intent of this bill is just for local government not to requires any additional restriction based on anything else other than the fact that it's just an electrical outlet. And you should issue a permit based on the electrical outlet and not requiring other zoning or planning restrictions on it.
Yeah, I got you. Not like lively entertainment. Okay. Any other council discussion? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move to waive further reading and introduce ordinance number 2323. Do I have to read that out loud?
Is there a second? And then she's going to read it. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a second? Okay. City Clerk, would you like to read the heading of the ordinance?
Ordinance number 2323, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, amending the West Covina Municipal Code by adding Article 18 to Chapter 7, titled Permit Process for Electric Vehicle Charging Stations.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. On this one, we need a roll call vote. Please call the roll.
Johnson?
Aye.
Spence?
I believe I go last.
Toma?
Aye.
Spence?
Aye. That's close. Okay, item number 19, ordinance transferring authority to the fire chief for fireworks permits at public-private school sites. Mr. City Manager, is staff going to give a report? Who's giving the report?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Spence. I'll give a brief report. Currently, the West Covina Municipal Code requires any type of fireworks shows to be approved by the City Council. Historically, the only fireworks shows that we do have in this community are the ones that the city put on, as well as our local school districts with regards to either homecoming events or high school graduations. As just a means to be more efficient and rather have these reports come to the City Council a couple times a year, we would like to delegate the authority for just any kind of city event, as well as any school, both public or private, that authority be delegated to the fire chief and the fire chief only. If anybody else in the community wants to do a fireworks show, whether it be a commercial center, whether it be one of our local churches, I know Faith Community Church in the past has had their shows, those will still be required to come and get approval from the City Council. And with that, as just a method of efficiency, city staff presenting this for council's approval.
the council. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to accept as read.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the ordinance of the City Council amending Chapter 10, Article 2, Section 5608.2 of the West Covina Municipal Code relating to public display on fireworks. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to consent? Okay, it's approved 3-0. Item number 20, Mr. Johnson, you asked to have this agendized?
Yes, I did, and thank you very much. As the last meeting, when this was brought up, I looked at it from one way and I looked at it from another. But after I voted one way or the other, I received a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails from the residents on the north side of the city where the only place this manufactured marijuana could be placed. This is the only manufacturing we have left. And there's two things I would like to bring to everybody's attention. First of all, you know, we talk about our veterans and we talk about cancer survivors. I am both. I'm a 100% disabled Vietnam veteran, and I'm also a cancer survivor. When I was going through my cancer, yes, I took marijuana pills, and yes, they did help me. But that wasn't manufactured in West Covina. It was distributed to me for medical reasons only. Everybody has to understand, I am a West Covina city councilman. These are the only ones that I have to answer to. They're the ones that elected me to serve up here for them, and those are the ones that could vote me out, and that's who I answer to. You know, we have to, the tough decisions that we have to make. Yes, and those who say yes, it'd be a financial gain for us, and those who say no, it won't be. I can't look at it that way. My situation is, by bringing it back up, do I want our staff spending a lot of time on something that probably won't be going through? No. Our staff time's more valuable. There's more things that they need to be done. So that's why I brought this back up for reconsideration. When I get the phone calls from the residents over in this north side, which is where I live, and those are the residents that, you know, I have to really be concerned about, because this is going to affect them more than it's going to affect anybody else in the city of West Covina. And they tell me, no, I do not want this in our neighborhood right now. We want the city to take a step back, take a look at it, and see what the other cities are doing, and figure out if they're making mistakes, how we can correct those mistakes and not let it happen in our city. I know we have those that'll be happy for it. We're going to have those that'll be disappointed. But I have to look at what I feel is best for the residents of West Covina. And at this time, the West Covina residents are telling me they don't want it. And those are the only ones I have to listen to. So at this time, I will be changing my vote from a yes at the last meeting to a no. I know, but I just want to let you, we can go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that procedurally what you would do then is make a motion to reconsider the action of the council that was taken on this item previously.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to reconsider of the actions and taken from the council at a prior council meeting.
I'll second that.
Mr. Johnson, Mayor Warshaw has requested that this be put off until the next meeting so that he can have input into it. Would you be willing to reconsider it at the date certain at the next meeting so he can have input?
No, because it won't change anything. The last vote, it was 3-2 for it. Mayor Warshaw was for it. Mayor Pro Tem Spence was for it, and I was for it. Councilman Toma was against it, and Councilman Wu was against it. Me changing this until the next meeting is not going to change anything. I don't want our staff spending any time on this when I don't feel it's going to move forward. So no, I'd like for it to be moved forward tonight.
Okay, I would just like to point out that we did take an item off the agenda, item 8, dealing with the police tonight at your request, to put it off to the next meeting so the full council could have input. That vote's not going to change either. And so out of common courtesy, I think it would be appropriate to have this come up at the next meeting per Mayor Warshaw's request, and I would like to see that amended that way. We honored your request to put the police off, the police chief vote off, and I think that we should give Mayor Warshaw the courtesy of being present as he requested. Mr. Toma?
between this is that we haven't voted on the police salary thing here in session. We had a discussion where the votes were pretty clear in terms of where they lay. The council members, I think, it was pretty clear what was going to happen here with respect to Councilman Johnson's motion to reconsider. If Mr. Councilman Wu was going to change his vote, I think he would have let staff or us know. So, I mean, I get that it's not going to change anything. I understand Councilman Johnson, feels bad, doesn't want, he's changing his vote. He's doing what he thinks is the right thing. It's not going to change anything with respect to the votes in terms of, I understand it. If two council members wanted to change their votes, then I think, and it could actually affect the outcome, I could see how it would make a difference. But we are trying to save the staff resources. Whether we do it now or do it later won't change anything. The only way it would change something is if Councilman Wu was going to change his vote, which he has not informed us, and I assume he's not informed the staff that he's going to do so. So I don't see the difference. So I see no need to put it off.
Well, I still think that we just did that for the police on Mr. Johnson's request. I just think the common courtesy should be that we put it off to that. If it's not going to change any votes, then it's not a big deal, right? I mean, but a council member has requested that we put it off until the next meeting, and we did that for item number 8, and I think it'd be appropriate to do it for this item. I don't understand the objection to honoring a request from a council member, especially when we just did that on item number 8. Okay. Well, I will say something on this item real quick. As far as staff time, I think had you, Mr. Johnson, not voted aye several times over the past year, staff wouldn't have spent time on this. But actually, I oppose your motion because I believe everything that you've said for the last year about this issue. Everything you said was very passionate. It was very clear. And I agree with what you said over this last year. Okay, we have a motion to reconsider. It's been moved and seconded. Can I have a roll call vote, please? Yeah, go ahead.
So just that, in terms of the comments that were made about the medical benefits of marijuana, I just want to make it clear that, and it has been said, but I want to confirm that this has nothing to do with that aspect of things, right? And that is what I think Councilman Johnson discussed last time, and maybe realize that these are separate issues, right? People who want and need medical marijuana, they will have access to it. There already are places, dispensaries, where they can get that. There's going to be a number of, and I've said this argued this for months, there are a number of jurisdictions where culturally and for whatever reason are very eager to get into this. In Northern California, in Oakland, a lot of the desert cities, which have a lot more open space than what we do in terms of our limited industrial, they're interested in it, and there are going to be dispensaries in, I assume, LA, and continue to be more and whatnot. So this isn't about that and about having access. Under the new state law, everyone can have, people can grow up to 6 plants in their house. So this is not about your right to have marijuana, your right to possess marijuana for recreational or medical use. What this is about is a planning decision with respect to whether we want to have that, whether the fact that it's still illegal under federal law is a problem, and whether there needs to be some shakeout in the industry before things become more stabilized. And I think with all the various issues that we have, this will be potentially a big distraction and a potentially big problem. As somebody else pointed out, once you open things up, it is very hard to stop that. And so I think there is no need to rush into this, because there are other jurisdictions that want to be those test cases and that want to get into this very, very much so, much more so than what our residents, I think, want this. So let them do that. And I think this makes sense. And again, I just wanted to clarify that this has nothing to do with people's personal use of marijuana. This is a planning decision by the city. And look, it's hard to change your mind, but we're not perfect here. And I'm surprised constantly at how we don't have access to all the information when we have to make these votes. So I do applaud Councilman Johnson for having the guts to actually say, I made a mistake. I need to do what I think is right for our constituents and change your mind, because he knows he's going to take some criticism from people for doing this. But I think in your heart, if you think this is the right decision and this is the right decision for your community, then that is what you need to do. So I am supportive of this motion to reconsider.
Mr. Freeland?
No, I was just making sure for clarification, this is just a motion to reconsider. Correct. And there will be a separate motion on the action on number 20.
Correct. It's been moved and seconded to reconsider this item. Let's do a roll call vote.
Johnson?
Aye.
Toma?
Aye.
Spence?
No. Okay, the item is now on the table. What direction would you like to give, Mr. Johnson?
I'd like to make a motion to, how I say, disapprove or reject. As a city attorney, how would I go about doing this?
Yeah, the prior action was to direct staff to bring forward a code amendment. So the appropriate action, if you want to undo that, would be to direct staff not to bring forward a code amendment.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to direct staff not to bring forward a code amendment.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Let's have a roll call vote.
Johnson?
Aye.
Toma?
Aye.
Spence?
Aye. 20 is passed. AB 1234, conference and meeting report. Does anyone have anything to report? No? Nothing to report on 1234s? Okay, item 21, a request from myself. I prefer acting mayor to Mayor Pro Tem. To discuss the parking lot fees. We had a discussion about that and the fact that there's people that need to do business here at the city that end up having to pay fees, parking fees. And I'd like us to take a look at ways to alleviate that. Is there any second or discussion about it? Mr. Johnson?
Yes. There it goes. Have a consideration of this instead of eliminating all of them. What I would like to have put down out front by where the other permit parking by the council, 8 parking places directed only for city business only.
So is that a second to go ahead and bring that back and look at this issue?
Oh, yes, okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to bring that back and look at this issue, because this is Mother May I. Is there any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to consent? Okay, it's approved 3-0. 3-0. Okay. City council comments? Anyone have anything they want to bring up? Mr. Johnson?
No, I just want to re-comment the comments that were made about the city's, all their involvement on Lance Corporal Velasco's funeral. You know, I was so honored to be a part of that, along with the rest of my council members' appearance there. But you know what? This says what the city's about. This young man graduated from West Covina High School last year, and unfortunately, it was his time. No one knows when your time's up, but this was his time. And I would just like to say thank you for every man and woman of the city of West Covina that supported this young man. I know our hearts go out to their family, and he will always be remembered by the city of West Covina and by, I hope, by the West Covina Unified School District. And one more time, I know Mayor Pro Tem Mike Spence said it very well, very elegant about what was involved. And it was, I just wanted to make one statement one more time. It was such an honor, just an honor to be part of this young Marine's final resting days. Thank you.
Mr. Toma.
Yes, I just want to echo those comments. It was very nice to see the law enforcement community from around the area come together to support the family, the Marines, and local residents come out to Rose Hills for to show support for our West Covina High graduate and resident in the family, and it's very nice for them to show their appreciation to us. They just brought us these shirts in memory of their son, and it was just a great job by everybody putting this thing together. The other thing I want to mention is we have the upcoming Kings of Cameron football game on Friday, and the Queens of Cameron volleyball game, I believe, is tomorrow. Tomorrow. And our youth council originally came up with that whole idea of the Kings of Cameron. It's a wonderful idea. And you can see that the schools have really rallied around that idea, and it's just become a really, really fun event. I'm hoping for a very competitive game this Friday for. We always go and support, and it's just a lot of fun. So I look forward to seeing people out in the community there. One other event that is going to happen before I think our next meeting is AQMD is doing on the issue of electric cars. AQMD is having an electric car event, and I think they're going to showcase different models of electric cars and sort of and educate people with respect to the idea of purchasing or leasing an electric car and the charging process and so forth. And that's happening on September 9th on the Saturday at the AQMD office, which is over there in Diamond Bar from 12 to 4. And I'm sure the information is on their website. Thank you.
I would just echo Mr. Johnson's comments about Lance Corporal Velasco, and of course your shrine got some good press on KBC, but that was a very nice gesture. I know the family liked it, and I know that the community liked it. And again, I think not only our police, but I think the public. There were at least 500 people at the funeral, if not more. I mean, it was standing room only on the top floor there, and I think that was something that brought the community together. Does anyone have any other items? Mr. Freeland.
Just a follow-up on Lance Corporal Velasco, and that is that the city will be having a future dedication ceremony where we'll be placing a gold star banner for him in his memory in front of City Hall, and we'll coordinate that with the family so they can unveil that.
Great, thank you very much. Anything else to come before the City Council? Okay, we stand adjourned at 9:40 p.m.